Hey everybody, it's Mike from Metro Trails, back with little Ev, and we are on the old Lackawanna Railroad main line in Pequest Wildlife Management Area. What we're walking right now was part of the first Metro Trails hike that was back when it was just an informal high school hiking group. This is not an official trail, but it's on public land, and still pretty much my favorite rail bed to walk, just because I grew up with it. But this kind of unassuming, simple woods has a whole lot of great history to it that when people are doing a through walk, even on my hikes, by the time we get here, everybody's tired and just moving along fast. You miss a whole lot of stuff. So when this was built in 1856 as the Warren Railroad by John I. Blair, the line was kind of detoured a little bit to the east of where it really needed to go in order to get to the Delaware Water Gap. A study of contour maps can kind of show that it was unnecessary. But the reason for it to come over here was the Pequest furnace, which doesn't make a lot of sense to me because the furnace was built early 1870s, 1873, 74, so there might have been something already on site. Some sort of milling or forge operation, I believe. That led them to putting the railroad over here. So the furnace was in operation from the 1870s until the early 1900s. And it's easy to miss, especially when you have this much foliage out, like in May here. But there's a whole lot of cinder refuse left over from the furnace operation. So as we head up just a little bit further here on the right, you can see there's a little ATV path. It cuts over here, and that is where we're gonna go. Okay, can you hang on tight, okay? I take this stroller through just about everything. It does mountains. It's okay, Ev. It's okay. With the pivoting front wheel, it can handle most everything, including really bumpy, reconstituted minerals like we see here. Hang in there, Ev. We'll be down this in a second. So, I'll tell you what, my wrist has gotten a whole lot stronger since he's been born, doing all of these hills and stuff. So here we have it. In a second, where I can get him on a little bit more solid ground. Here's the cinder piles. It's like a moonscape when we come through here, all associated with the Pequest furnace. We have a degree of succession, which is what happens when an area becomes reforested, taking effect here, but we're not seeing a whole lot. The first plants to come in are typically the eastern red cedar, like you see here, back a little further on the slope coming down from the old main line. And then, of course, we have the invasive autumn olives that are just the scourge of farm fields. Farmers these days can basically not even let it's okay, Ev, not even let their fields go fallow for a year or two because it'll just be taken over by the autumn olive. What do you think, Ev? We've been here before. You've been here before. It's okay. It's okay. I'm going to use both hands here for a second. You're okay, Ev. You're okay. Here we go. So, as we head down the hill, let's have a closer look at the slag here. So the ore refuse. As we're heading down, this can be like walking in sand sometimes. the tires don't particularly like it, and I have this problem with the front tire all the time, kicking out a bit. So I head down here into the next bit of shade we have, and we're gonna hit the block that probably did the furnace in. Seems like we're out here in, once again, middle of nowhere, used only by ATVs. And here we have this giant block of reconstituted refuse. It's got so much vegetation and trees and stuff growing up into it now, it's barely even recognizable. But that would probably be the last time the furnace went into blast, and they stripped the area of everything of value. There's barely even anything other than foundations left of the Pequest furnace up in here. So off the end of there, when you get past the giant block, there's a lesser used ATV path that cuts over to the right. Right, Ev? And this will take you out toward the Pequest River, and it'll take you to the former Lehigh and Hudson River Railway, which was established here in the 1870s also, and it was completed through by about 1881, connecting the Lehigh Valley by way of trackage rights on the Belvedere Delaware Railroad. See, this weaves around a whole lot. And usually I have both hands to control this, but I'm trying to do a rough video here. If I just should have had you walk this one, shouldn't I? Lehigh and Hudson came through. Then it was abandoned in 1986. Really a shame that that happened, but when the Poughkeepsie Bridge over the Hudson River was burned in 1974, it sort of rendered more useless the right-of-way. And there was proposals by groups like the modern-day New York, Susquehanna, and Western that is still in operation, runs on the Lehigh and Hudson in Sussex County. But the proposal didn't go through up here. So here we come to another T intersection. It's okay, yeah, you okay? That wasn't thorns, or we wouldn't have done that. All right, so this won't take you down to Lehigh and Hudson, but we're gonna go up here first. I know, it's not poison ivy or anything, Ev, don't worry. So as we go up here, using both hands again, some of the first foundations you'll see of the first bit of the Pequest furnace are right over here to our left. And there you have it. It's okay, Ev. We're just going uphill. Then you had the Furnace Railroad. Now the Furnace Railroad connected the Lackawanna Main up here out into the operation, and it crossed over a bridge right over here. So look through these trees here, and there's one of the abutments. If we go a little further, it's better in the winter, but maybe over here a little more. Through there is the other side. You can see it off to the right just a little bit through those trees. Now we're almost at the top of the rise here, and all through these woods are more foundations of this operation. One of the things I have to do when I'm not out wandering around like this is to check some of the old Sanborn fire insurance maps of the area and determine what was standing where. But this was probably some kind of a small yard area. Some of the mapping, like in Larry Lowenthal and William T. Greenberg's Lackawanna Railroad in Northwest New Jersey book, it does have a map that shows some of the connections between the Pequest Furnace Railroad and the Lackawanna and Lehigh and Hudson. Here's the foundation down in here. And up here is where the Furnace Railroad had two sets of tracks came together. Probably, I think it was a couple more than two sets. So, looking straight ahead, we're now on the Pequest Furnace Railroad right of way. It's much clearer and flatter. But if you look over here, there's this rock face, and another right of way went over here. So this right of way connected to the southbound, or what is technically eastbound, Lackawanna, Maine. And this section ahead connected to the westbound. So this area would have gotten more traffic because the anthracite coal from the Scranton and Wilkes-Barre area would have been coming through here to serve the furnace. And the Pequest furnace sort of acted like a sister furnace to the Oxford furnace, which was just south of here and had been established in 1741. So that was a really old one, but it utilized a spur. It was originally the main line, but after the tunnel was completed, it was a spur. This had a much closer connection to that main line. So head on a little further here. It's okay, Ev. I'll be done with the bumps in a minute. This used to be a wonderful little overlook right here, but it has since grown in. Used to be able to look over the Pequest River and everything below, but it's a bit of a mess. Here we are on the Lackawanna, Maine. This is looking westbound. And one of the most scenic spots on it is the Pequest Cut right here. So I am of the opinion that maybe the main line used to go all the way around this on the Furnace Railroad that we were just walking, since it had both the north and southbound connections, because this is a major cut. When the line was built, it was only single track. So look at the depth of this cut. It seems to me that if they were constructing, that they probably would have tried to bypass this, because we've already seen it done elsewhere on this main line, including the Paradise Cut up near Mount Pocono and other similar spots. So I would figure if they were doing something here, they probably wanted to bypass this, maybe with the long-term plan of cutting through, and then the Pequest Cut was constructed at some point during the start of operation. Just like with the Oxford Tunnel, which didn't open until 1862. They had a temporary track around the mountains from 1856. So I think it's a logical assumption that the original Warren Railroad is probably the right-of-way of the Pequest Furnace Railroad that we were just on. Again, I don't have anything to prove that. It's just a logical assumption based on the terrain and based on what we've seen elsewhere on this line. But it's an awesome spot to just come walking through. It's all public land. And eventually, I'd like to see the Warren Highlands Trail utilize this cut, because it's just such a nice spot. Isn't it, Ev? So there you have Pequest Cut, Pequest Furnace, and the rest of the Pequest environs associated with the Lackawanna Old Main Line, Lehigh and Hudson River Railway, and connecting furnace railroads. One of these days I'll get down and show everybody here what it looks like from the Lehigh and Hudson level, but this will conclude a little walk for now. Thanks for watching.